All right, this is the copyright disclaimer. The copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976. Allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, education, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Fair use, fair use, fair use.
Feeling hot, hot, hot. Feeling hot, hot, hot. Feeling hot, hot, hot.
Europe is burning before summer has even begun. From the Atlantic coast of Portugal to the plains of Eastern Europe, an immense dome of high pressure has settled across the continent. Meteorologists call it a heat dome, a vast atmospheric lid that traps hot air near the surface, compressing it and driving temperatures higher with each passing day. But this heat is not appearing from nowhere. Warm air surging northward from North Africa is feeding the system, carrying Saharan heat deep into Europe. At the same time, El Niño and a warming planet are loading the atmosphere with even more energy. Spain, Portugal, France, Italy, Germany, the United Kingdom, and parts of the Balkans are already feeling the impact. Rivers shrink, forests dry, wildfire risks climb. Cities built for cooler climates struggle beneath temperatures that arrive weeks earlier than expected. Scientists warn this is not an anomaly. It is a glimpse into the future. As greenhouse gases continue to warm the planet, heat waves are becoming more frequent, more intense, and more dangerous. This may be one of the hottest years ever recorded. It could also be among the coolest years many of us will ever experience.
This is the brief on the 2026 European heatwave crisis. This June 2026 heatwave has absolutely devastated Europe, exposing fatal vulnerabilities in both public health and essential infrastructure. First, the cause is an omega block, which is basically a massive hot air mass trapped between cold systems, sucking Saharan heat into Western Europe and preventing nighttime cooling. It's literally like slamming a heavy lid on a boiling pot of Sahara air. The WHO calls this extreme heat a silent killer, mostly because Europe is warming twice as fast as the global average, and, well, its buildings just aren't built for it. Second, because these structures trap heat instead of deflecting it, the human cost is staggering, with over 1,300 heat-related deaths. In Paris, the elderly are getting hit the hardest. About 85% of victims were 65 or older, many dying alone, which is pushing morgues to absolute capacity. We're also seeing 40 drownings, mostly teenagers jumping into unsupervised rivers to escape the heat. So how do we protect people when even seeking relief in the water becomes a lethal risk? Finally, it's not just human bodies failing. The systems we literally rely on are melting down. Ground temps hit a crazy 50 degrees Celsius, deforming rail tracks and cracking German highways. In France alone, 36,000 homes lost power. And get this, the Goldfish nuclear plant had to shut down a reactor because the cooling river water got way too hot. Seriously, how do we keep our cooling systems running if the power plants themselves are overheating? Ultimately, the 2026 heatwave is a brutal wake-up call, proving Europe must urgently redesign its infrastructure to survive a much hotter climate reality.
150 million people trapped under a heat dome, and it's only getting worse. Europe is burning. Since late May, a deadly heat wave has been suffocating an entire continent, and right now, it's at its worst. France, Spain, UK, Germany, Italy, all of them breaking temperature records that stood for decades, some for over 50 years. Spain and Portugal hit 44 degrees Celsius. That's 111 degrees Fahrenheit. In France, 49 out of 96 regions are on red alert. Schools are closed, public events cancelled. And in the UK, they just broke their hottest June record, a record that hadn't been touched since 1976. But here's where it gets devastating. At least 18 people are dead in France alone, including 2 children, a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old found unconscious in a hot car. They couldn't be saved. In Paris, cardiac arrest jumped from 10 a day to 44 in just 24 hours. 50,000 homes lost power, nuclear plants shut down. The Uffizi Museum in Florence closed because the air conditioning crashed the power grid. Scientists have one answer for all of this: climate change. Europe is the fastest warming continent on Earth, and what used to be a rare event is now happening every single summer. This is not normal. This is a crisis. Stay informed, share this, because the next heat wave is already being forecast.
This is the book of Jeremiah, chapter 28 and 8. And it reads, "The prophets that have been before me and before thee of old prophesied both against many countries and against great kingdoms, of war and of evil and of pestilence." 2 Ezra, chapter 16, verse 8. "The mighty Lord sendeth plagues, and who is he that can drive them away? Giving all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rahak HaKodash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule well in teaching me this 100% truth. Salutations to them and my fellow Akim who labor in this truth week in and week out on the highways and byways. Also salutations to the hopeful elect of the scattered 12 tribes of Israel, scattered to the 4 corners of the earth that be like unto the speckled bird, also known as your Israelite foreigners and your so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. To you I say Shalom. This is your brother Ayashar Barazal from the Indianapolis branch of the Great Millstone, coming back at you with another lesson that is edifying to the elect body of the nation of Israel. All right, I got this article here from the Morning News, which I got through a news break, and there's pretty much an update to a video I did about a week or two ago regarding this incredible heat wave in Europe. All right, and it says the title is Europe records 12,000 excess deaths during June heat wave. This article is a couple days old, done on July 20th, 2026. All right, and again, it says Europe records 12,000 excess deaths during June heat wave. So let's look up that word, define what excess deaths are. I went on ChatGPT, and it says define excess deaths as it pertains to heat wave in Europe. It says in the context of a European heat wave, excess deaths refers to the number of deaths above what would normally be expected for the same population during the same time of year. It is not simply a count of people whose death certificate says heat or heat stroke. Instead, it is a statistical measure used by epidemiologists and public health officials. The calculation is generally excess deaths equals observed deaths during the heat wave minus expected deaths based on historical averages. For example, a country that normally records 10,000 deaths during the first 2 weeks of July. During an extreme heat wave, it records 13,200 deaths. The excess deaths would be 3,200. Researchers then analyze whether the unusual increase is attributable to the heat wave while accounting for other possible factors. It says, why use excess deaths instead of heat stroke deaths? It says many people who die because of extreme heat do not die from classic heat stroke. Heat can worsen heart disease, trigger strokes, aggravate respiratory illnesses, cause dehydration leading to kidney failure, increase stress on elderly or medically vulnerable individuals. It says a death certificate may list heart attack, stroke, or respiratory failure, even though the extreme heat substantially contributed to the death. It says, what does heat-related excess deaths mean? When European agencies report For example, 60,000 excess deaths during the 2022 heat wave. They mean that statistical analysis estimate approximately 60,000 more people died than would have been expected under normal conditions, and that the heat wave was the primary factor associated with that cause. It says important limitations. Excess death estimates are estimates, not exact body counts. They depend on the historical baseline chosen, population changes such as aging, statistical modeling methods, whether other events such as influenza outbreaks or pandemics are occurring at the same time. For this reason, different research groups may produce somewhat different estimates for the same heat wave, even when analyzing the same countries. And that's true, because this article I got here says 12,000 excess deaths, but I saw other reports of 20,000. So that's where we are with that. So let me get into this, go back to the article, now that we understand excess deaths. All right. Let me get this in Matthew 24. And because this is where we are, these plagues, pestilences, all of this stuff, is going on. It's pretty much an update from, like I said, the video I did a couple weeks ago, because they said a couple thousand back then. Now it's 12. All right, Matthew chapter 24, beginning in verse 6. All right. Verse 6, and it reads, and ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. Yep, got that going on right now. The Israelis are fighting everybody, with the U.S. on the front. They done bent the U.S. over, and everybody's on those on that list, so they better vote in favor of this situation. But we know it's prophecy. All right. Wars and rumors of wars. Yep. We got the U.S. just brokered a deal with Saudi Arabia. Israel is fighting both Iran and southern Lebanon. All right. It says, back in Matthew 24, see that ye be not troubled, for all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. All right. It says, for nation shall rise against nation, and we're saying that, all right, with Esau versus Esau right now. Every day their women are increasingly hating the men, and turning away from them. And it really kicked off when ICE shot that woman in Minnesota, and the women started to ask the question of their husbands, and they said ICE was doing their job. So let those wives know that they are expendable. Yeah, a lot of stuff going on. All right. Back in verse 7, it says, in kingdom against kingdom. We're seeing these nations fight against each other. All right. The real war is the kingdom of Edom versus a kingdom of true Israel. That's what it's coming down to. The 12 tribes. All right. It says, and there should be famines. We just, put a picture in the chat from a group. One of the main stores had no meat on the shelf. I want to say it was a chain, Meyer. No meat on the shelf. Okay. It says, and pestilences. Pestilences is the same thing as a plague. Something that destroys. Okay, in a destroying fashion, or disease. Okay. And earthquakes in diverse places. And I have this app here, the earthquake app. Yeah, right here. All right. This is just from Sunday, July 19th to current today, July 22nd. And as you can see on the right-hand side, this earthquake in North Sulawesi was just 32 minutes ago. Okay, and the magnitude that I always pick is 3 plus, because at 3 plus, that's where you start to get damage. Okay, a magnitude of 3.0 and above. All right, that's where you start get shaking and stuff can, begin to crack. All right, and I have all regions just to show its diverse places. You know, which is fulfilling prophecy. And off to the far left side, that's the flag of those different countries, different places. Okay, and as you can see, you may have some that duplicate, but hey, that's a bunch of diverse places that these earthquakes are appearing. Chile, Mexico, Russia, Indonesia. All right, Chin State, wherever that is. Let's see, Bandon, Oregon, here in the U.S. Okay, Tambor, Costa Rica, Greece. And this is all within the same day today. I can just keep scrolling, and as you can see, there's a lot of earthquakes going on that are causing some damage. Okay, a lot of them. This is just the 20th. Today's the 22nd. A lot of earthquakes. A lot of them. Man, it would, brothers that are interested, yeah, I would get this app. You can really see what's going on. It's called the Earthquake app. All right. Yeah, Alaska. Yep, a lot. So this is all going back to the 19th of July. That was Sunday, this past Sunday. As you can see, definitely diverse places and a lot of earthquakes at 3.0 and above. And the first one captured was near the coast of Maharashtra in India. All right, going back to the 19th. So yeah, you got a lot of earthquakes in diverse places. All right, go back to the scriptures. It says, all these are the beginning of sorrows. So we ain't seen nothing yet, but this stuff is causing problems for a lot of folks. I'm going to focus on that heat wave in Europe with this article, but as you can see, all these things, everything's in play right now. Everything's in play. World War III is going to happen. That's prophecy. All right, get the MOTB, that's in play. All right. It says, and I'll put a link to this article in the description box of the video. All right, so you can read it at your own leisure. All right, it says, how deadly can a heat wave really be? The answer is far more alarming than many realize. At least 12,000 excess deaths were recorded across Europe during June's extreme heat. An AFP analysis found around 10,000 excess deaths across 7 European countries. Another 2,200 deaths were linked to the heat in England and Wales. It says Euromo, which tracks mortality across Europe, estimated that more than 14,000 excess deaths in the final week of June alone. So that one video, which talked about 20,000, that was through July. So that's, hey, he was probably right. Okay. It says officials say the numbers remain provisional. All right, and there's an embedded YouTube link you can watch once you click on the article. It says the heat wave shattered temperatures across several countries, highlighting the growing human cost of extreme weather. Health permits warn this is more than just an unusually hot summer. It says a heat wave sparks health emergency. It says this is not a natural disaster, said WHO Europe Director Hans Henry P. Kluge. He argued governments still treat heat as a weather event rather than a health emergency. Says he stressed that many of these deaths could have been prevented with better preparation. Researchers say there is little evidence pointing to another major cause. All right. Says there is no other reason for excess mortality that we know of than heat, and it's quite dramatic, explained epidemiologist Lassie Vestergaard. As climate change fuels longer and more intense heat waves, Europe faces a sobering reality. The hottest days may no longer be the exception. They could become the new normal. Oh man, a lot of sunburn. You Edomites, you know, got a lot to look forward to. And this is, hey, the Lord's recompense. One of the plagues that's a recompense for what you've done to his people. And like I said, this article comes from the Morning News, which I got via Newsbreak, and I'll put a link to it in the description box. So yeah, it's going down here. Like the scriptures say, these are just the beginning of sorrows. This is Second Ezra, chapter 15. Go straight to the point. And verse 5. And it reads, Behold, saith the Lord, I will bring plagues upon the whole world, the sword, famine, death, and destruction. That's exactly what's happening. All right. It says, For wickedness hath exceedingly polluted the whole earth, and their hurtful works are fulfilled. Yeah, this place is just wicked all over the place. They had that pride parade last month, in the Holy Land that they've grotesquely defiled. Okay, you got these kid sacrifices, the whole trafficking, the whole Moism thing that's going on. All right, women are definitely out of control, especially the so-called black woman. I mean, just saw an article yesterday where they're delving all into witchcraft, and the Lord says he's suffering out a witch to live. A lot of y'all, as I was saying yesterday, are going to be destroyed, going to be destroyed big time. All right, verse 7, it says, Therefore saith the Lord. Verse 8, I will hold my tongue no more as touching their wickedness, which they profanely commit. You don't give a fuck. You're just doing it because you can right now. He says, Neither will I suffer them or have patience with them in those things in which they wickedly exercise themselves. Behold, the innocent and righteous blood crieth unto me, and the souls of the just complain continually. And that's his hopeful elect, the ones that are still here, on the highways and byways, and the ones that have gone on waiting for us, All right. So yeah, the Lord is doing this thing because of the wickedness of this place. What he says at Isaiah 24, punish world. Let me grab that. And he's doing it right now. Isaiah 13, Salakia. Okay. He says, and I will punish the world for their evil and the wicked for their iniquity. I will cause the arrogancy of the proud to cease, and I will lay low the haughtiness of the terrible. Yeah, the wicked, includes the 2/3 of our people, Likewise, the arrogancy of the proud, and will lay low the haughtiness of the terrible, and all of those apply to Esau, Edom, the so-called white man who is the wicked, as well as the 2/3 of Israel. The thing is, the 2/3 of Israel, they're going to come back in their right mind. Okay, the ones he has slated for death, according to Zechariah 13:8. All right. So yeah, he's coming back to punish the whole world, and we see this over in Europe now. Okay. So yeah, stuff is happening. Prophecy is here. All right. And yeah, this is just one of those plagues, that heat wave. Of course, like I said, and then you got the earthquakes everywhere. All of this, like I said, these are the beginning of sorrows. This stuff is going to ramp up, especially as we get closer to them trying to implement the MOTB. All right. So with that, I hope this lesson was edifying to the elect body of the nation of Israel. Once again, going to give all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Raha Kakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone who rule well in teaching me this 100% truth. Salutations to them and my fellow Akim who labor in this truth week in and week out on the highways and byways. Also salutations to the hopeful elect of the scattered 12 tribes of Israel, scattered to the four corners of the earth, that be like unto the speckled bird, also known as your Israelite foreigners, your so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. To you, I say Shalom, Kwam Yasharala, Abba Babal. We got next. Hang in there, brothers of the hopeful elect. Hang in there. We're almost home. Shalom.